Right now, what we're going to do is we are going to finish up the rest of Unit 1, Notes 3. So we're going to start talking about point-slope form. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at point-slope form. So what is point-slope form? Well, point-slope form, I like to call it a puzzle. It kind of looks like a puzzle. So we have y minus y1 is equal to m times parenthesis x minus x1, and x1, y1 is going to be some point that's on the line. So in order to use point-slope form, we would need two things, and it's right in the name. We need the point and we need the slope. So we're going to mainly be using this to write linear equations. It's not really so much for graphing, but more for writing them. So I'm also going to give you something kind of like a visual that I use with my students that sometimes helps. I like to look at point-slope form almost as a puzzle. So this is kind of like the puzzle I set up, okay? In this spot right here, I'm going to put the opposite of the y-coordinate. In this spot right here, I'm going to put the slope. And here I'm going to put the opposite of the x-coordinate. Now that's really the same thing as up there, but if all those x1, y1s, and all those different letters confuse you, this is another great option to kind of help you remember that point-slope form, because you are going to have the slope, all of these equations memorized. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at just putting something into point-slope form. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set up my puzzle. Or I'm going to certainly try. Okay, so remember in that first spot here, this is the opposite of the y. Just to write this out one more time, this is the slope, and this is the opposite of the x. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Our y-coordinate is 2, so the opposite is going to be minus 2. Our slope is negative 6, and our x-coordinate is negative 9, or is 9, so the opposite is minus 9. And I want you to make sure you look at these as minus, not a negative. You are subtracting those numbers. So I'm just going to go ahead and write this out without all the dashes, just so you guys can get a good look at what an equation looks like once it's in point-slope form. So that would be your answer right there. Let's go ahead and let's try this for number 8. Okay, so for number 8, we're going to set up our puzzle. So I'm going to stop writing the names underneath. Sometimes it's helpful to have your notes out if you don't remember where things fit into the puzzle. So here I'm going to put the opposite of my y-coordinate. Now I notice it's minus 3, so I'm going to put in plus 3. That plus sign right there is very important. You need to make sure you're putting that plus sign in, because it's not y times 3, it's y plus 3. Okay, then we're going to have a slope of 2 here, and then x plus 2 here. Maybe. There we go. Okay, so that is point-slope form. That is what it's looked like, and that's really all there is to it. Occasionally, however, you're not given the slope. You are just given 2 points. And then you're going to have to calculate out the slope. So if you remember on the front side of this worksheet, I gave you the equation to calculate slope. And the equation is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So what helps me is I just go across and I actually label x1, y1. So x1, y1, x2, y2. 2's are always in the same parenthesis. 1's are always in the same parenthesis. So let's go ahead and let's calculate out the slope, because we're going to need that for point-slope form. So y2 minus y1, when you subtract a negative, you double cross and it becomes plus a positive. x2 minus x1. So 4 plus 12 is going to give me 16. 8 minus 4 is going to give me 4. 16 divided by 4 is 4. So 4 is our slope. So now we can go ahead and we can put that into the puzzle. Okay, so our slope is 4, and now we can pick a point. It actually doesn't matter which point you use. They both mean the same thing. Okay, so I'm just going to use the first point here. So the opposite of my y-coordinate is going to be a positive 12. Again, making sure that I'm putting that plus sign in, that I'm not just writing y12. And then my x-coordinate is a positive 4, so then I need to write minus 4. So this is one of your point-slope answers. If you had written the other one, I would still mark it correct, because I don't care which one you write. Okay, let's go ahead and let's take a look at number 10. Okay, so for number 10, I'm going to label this x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, so let's calculate out the slope. So y2 minus y1, again, double slashing, over x2 minus x1, double slashing. So 2 plus 7 is going to give me 9. 4 plus 2 is going to give me 6. Now what I noticed about this fraction is both 9 and 6 are divisible by 3. So I'm going to go ahead and divide both by 3 so I can reduce that fraction. So that right there is my slope. So now I can put that into my puzzle for point-slope form, like so. So in here is going to be my slope, 3 over 2. And again, you can use either points. Let's just use that one to prove you can use the second one as well. So what we're going to do is opposite of the y-coordinate is 2, so that's going to be minus 2. Opposite of the x-coordinate, or the x-coordinate is 2, so the opposite is going to be minus 2. So this is your answer. You also could have had y plus 7 is equal to 3/2 times x plus 4. That's okay as well. Okay? So we're going to take a look next, and I'm going to show you why that doesn't matter. Okay? So writing the following in slope-intercept form. Okay, so when we use point-slope form, it's great for writing the equation, but in order to graph it, we need to convert it to slope-intercept form. So that's what we're going to practice quickly right now. So what we're going to do is put number 11 in point-slope form. We're just going to start with that. So my slope is -3, that goes here. My y-coordinate is a +3, so I'm going to put -3 here. And then my x-coordinate is a -2, so we're going to put +2 here. So remember that slope-intercept form is y is equal to mx plus b. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to isolate that y. I need to algebraically manipulate this so the y is by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute that 3. And so I'm going to have y minus 3 is equal to a -3 times x, which is -3x. And then -3 times 2, which is going to become -6. Okay, so now the last thing I need to do to solve for that y is I need to bring that +3 over to the other side. So then y is equal to -3x, and then -6 plus 3 is going to give me a -3. So your answer is y is equal to -3x minus 3. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at number 12. So I need to calculate out the slope. So I have x1, y1, x2, whoops, x1, y1, x2, y2. So let's go ahead and let's calculate out the slope of this guy. Okay, so first thing is we're going to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Again, then we're going to double slash. And that's going to be equal to 12 divided by 6, which is going to be 2. So my slope is 2, so I'm going to set this up in point slope form. Now, again, remember I told you that what point you choose doesn't matter. So if you don't believe me, I want you to pick the opposite point of what I use and then solve it for y, and you're going to see that you get the same answer. So let's use this first one right here. So since our y-coordinate is 5, the opposite's going to be -5. Our slope is 2. Since we have a -4 for our x-coordinate, the opposite is +4. So the first thing I'm going to do is distribute. So I have y minus 5 is equal to 2 times x, which is 2x, 2 times 4, which is 8. So the last thing I need to do is get that -5 over to the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and add 5 to both sides. So then I can add the 5 with the 8 because they're both constants. So 8 plus 5 is going to give me 13. So that right there is my final answer. So that concludes the second part of your note video. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for listening.